Good morning, everybody. How are you? The devilishly handsome Ian Dixon. Good morning, sir.
Shut up, for fuck's sake. Jesus.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? Welcome to the Be Inspired post-event breakdown. How are you doing? Are you good? We've changed things up in the studio this morning because I can't find my big B. So we take our big B that is normally behind me down to the event with us, and I can't find her anywhere. So we've got some like a placeholder in her place for now until we find her. I think we left her up at Manu. But good morning, everybody. I hope you are all okay. I am still floating on air after what was honestly the most, I don't even know how to describe it, the most incredible Be Inspired yet. Just the most incredible Be Inspired yet. It was everything that I hoped it would be and more. It's a funny one that when you create something like that in your mind's eye, and basically everyone around me just has to trust that I can see what it is that I'm trying to do. And they do. And they go, all right then, Dan, well, let's do that. And then I have this incredible team that make it happen, because actually the day itself, I don't do that much. I do that much, but anyway, it was a ride. If you came along to Be Inspired, I'm going to put my makeup on while I talk to you. If you came along to Be Inspired, let me know in the comments. How did you find it? Did you have a good time? If you were one of our speakers, let me know. How did you find it? Did you have a good time? On the day after Be Inspired, what I do is I take my clients, so the people on the speaker lineup, to a spa, because it's like the day after a wedding. Not everybody knows what to do with themselves. They're not ready for it all to be over. They're not ready for it to be done. So we kind of just go to a lovely hotel spa. People can take a dip if they want to take a dip. We'll take breakfast, have some lunch, and then kind of scatter to the wind after that. Gives us an opportunity to just breathe and just kind of gather our thoughts a little bit, because it is a big thing. For delegates, it's a big thing. For the audience, it's a big thing. For our VIPs, it's a big thing. For me, it's a massive thing. For my team, it's a huge thing. And of course, for our incredible speakers, it is a big thing. So it's really nice to spend that time together. Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice full stop. But we go again. So those of you that were saying, oh, I want to come to the next one, tickets are on sale now at thequeenbee.co.uk on early bird for the next 3 weeks. So you can get a ticket or a table for super cheaps for the next 3 weeks. We've got our early bird tickets are now open 30th and 31st of March. Nick Davis, it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. You're quite right. Forgive me whilst I'm making myself look a little less tired, ready for a little less conversation, a little more action this morning. I've got a guest coming on today because it feels quite timely. They've got some things coming on. They are Be Inspired alumni. We're going to catch up with them, see how they've been doing. Let's have a little look. What are we doing? It was true. I had a fucking fantastic time. Feel like I'm shell shocked. Look, I look beautiful. Trust the process with this shoe lot, by the way. Those of you that are watching think, what the bloody hell is Danny doing with her face? Hang on, I'll show you. I will show you. All will be well. Fret not. I'm interested in knowing more, Catherine, saying about what your speakers talk about. Catherine, we talk about all sorts. So we talk about business, personal development, career development. We talk about spiritual development. We talk about relationships. We talk about bodies. We talk about diversity and inclusion. We talk about all of it. There is no spike we don't sit on. There is no stone unturned. So yeah, they're the sort of things that that the speakers speak about. It is business, personal, and spiritual development. That's probably how best I would describe it to you. If you have been to Be Inspired, or you have been a speaker at Be Inspired, try and answer Catherine's. Try and answer what Catherine's saying there. She's interested in knowing more about what our speakers talk about. All of the things. It was awesome. Thank you for all your hard work, giving all the incredible people the space to spread their messages. It was amazing. That's the unreal thing about it. A little bit of everything. Yeah, it is. It is. It's a real broad spectrum of topic on purpose. Like, best way to describe it is lots of, like, a series of TED Talks over the course of 2 days, but then we sprinkle in loads of entertainment and food and networking and all sorts of stuff. Terry Williams is watching along this morning. Good morning, my darling. We need to catch up. I loved it. I want my own festival. Yeah, it's brilliant. The scope of topics is endless. If you have a message, I'd say get in there. Yeah, absolutely. So people were talking about healing beyond bullying. We were talking about the power of creativity. We were talking about HR. We were talking about social media. We were talking about mindset, what it is and what it isn't. We was talking about future self-thinking. We was talking about all sorts of stuff. We was talking about failing forward, all sorts. So yeah, if you do want to come along, get your ticket. We are going for 500 this time. So we've almost triple capacity for this one. We're going to go again on the 30th, 31st of March, back at Old Trafford with our fantastic expo in tandem with it as well, which was a huge success. Such a phenomenal success. I'm not clapping because I'm dead happy. It was something new. So we'd not done it before. We'd not had an expo at Be Inspired before. We had the space to do it. And we had the most phenomenal exhibitors, exhibitionists who were there to share what they were up to and how they can help the clients. And the way that the expo worked was that I curated who was there. So there was a good mix and that they were helpful to the audience. So it was absolutely pointless having people on that expo who weren't helpful to the people that were there. I mean, that doesn't help the exhibitor, nor does it help the audience, right? I'm so sad about this whole back thing situation. You'll have to bear with. I'm gonna have to have a tatty studio for today, you lot. I hope you can forgive me. My bee that is normally behind me, I think we left her behind at Manu. So I'm gonna have to go and get her because I love her and I don't feel like it looks like the studio without it. I might have recovered by March. I need you lot to put to give StreamYard permission. It just says Facebook user for everybody. Everybody's like Facebook user. Beth Thompson, I can see you. I can't normally see you, and I can see you today. But yeah, it was incredible. Jessica, I love to be able to tell my story, but I don't have a business. Does that matter? No, it doesn't matter. So we have activists that are on, anybody who wants to work with me in that capacity. So people that speak on that stage, unless they are a VIP, somebody who I have expressly invited, are people who work with me on my Be Inspired Mastermind. So the doors are now open to the Be Inspired Mastermind, by the way. Lots of you were asking me at the event itself, how do I get involved? How can I do it? If you go to imthequeenbee.co.uk, they go to packages. The doors are now open for those of you that want to jump in and jump on. If you want to have a conversation with me about that first, do drop into my DMs and let's have a little chat about it. So already 6 spaces have gone. I've not even done a formal launch. Linking in from down under Australia. What is your festival called? It's called Be Inspired. And we will be sharing retrospective access. So you'll be able to, in the next couple of weeks, you'll be able to get a hold of retrospective access to everybody's talks. We'll be offering, it'll be paid, but you'll be able to access all of our phenomenal speakers' talks via our online platform. So for those of you that missed it, they want to see what happened and what went on, I got you. Just give us a couple of a couple of weeks just to get all of that back in the building. So it's all of the rough footage is with our phenomenal videography team, the Film Farmers, and they're cutting it all together. So what we do is we go through a 6-month process where I teach you how to speak, structures from which to deviate, presentation styles, and all of that sort of stuff. And that learning and coaching and growing culminates in Be Inspired, whereby you take to the stage, do your talk, and then we create you your speaker assets. So your speaker assets are a professionally created video show reel of you and your business and what it is that you do. We create you a speaker sheet. So it's like a speaker CV where you can send that on to bookers and say, hey, I'm not just telling you I'm funny here. I can make you laugh. These are the topics that I speak on. Here's where I've spoken. Here are my trust tags. And we help you make that. We help you create that. And the event itself is absolutely magical. It really is. And he's getting more so. Paulie, your favourite mental thief here. I think you should come back onto my show and tell us how it went. Always up for that, my darling. Always up for that. Kat, I've enjoyed being on the Be Inspired Mastermind so much. I learned more than I hoped and can't wait to do more and more with the skills I've learned. I can't wait for that either from you. Morning, Jules Kelly. How are you? Forgive the tatty studio this morning, my sweetnesses. We are an absolute tatty mess. But yeah, it is. It was everything. It was absolutely everything. It's really still difficult to kind of put into words. I'm still trying to make sense of it all. I'm still trying to put it into a way that I can articulate to you all. But what I will say is you don't want to miss the next one. It's the 30th and 31st of March. Get your tickets. imthequeenbee.co.uk. Next week in the Hive, we have got one of my favorite times of year. The IATQB Hive is my free group. And in that group, we have the Be Heard Bootcamp, where I'm going to give you some free training. I'm going to teach you how to get speaking on social media, speaking about your business, getting out of your own way. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks and handy hints that are going to help you grow your audience so that you can reach more people and make more money. If you are up for that, you need to make sure you are in the IATQB Hive. It stands for I Am the Queen Bee. It's my free group. Never ask you to pay to be in there. But I am providing a whole week of free training next week. So more details coming in your emails about that for those of you that are on my email list. If you are not on my email list, go to imthequeenbee.co.uk. We'll sort that out. The energy was insane. It was differently to the impossible. If you're sitting on the fence about joining Danny's Be Inspired Mastermind, get off the fence and get on it. It's life-changing. It really is life-changing. It feels like it's a very broad, a very tall order. But it really is. That's consistent feedback from hundreds of clients that have been through this process now. So yeah, if you want to have a conversation with me about being inspired, about being on that next cohort, please do let me know. And if it's too tall of an order for you this time, Be Heard and Be Heard Pro will be going live for the last time this month as well. So I only open my doors to work with me twice a year because my clients will attest to the fact that I focus really heavily on my clients. So I don't have thousands of clients at any one time. I don't do these huge, big launches. I only ever work with 20 people at any one time. So I can focus really, really intensely on those people and make sure I get them ready. I pull it out of the bag every single time. Well, I have an incredible team behind me, an incredible team. So I will talk more about that as the week goes on. We're going to switch things up on the show at Wise Up, Rise Up show in the coming weeks. I feel a brewing change of format again. There are lots of learns as well. So on Wise Up Wednesday this Wednesday coming, I'm going to share with you the things that we learned this time, the things that we're going to change for next time. Like escalating and moving into a new venue meant that more people were there. It meant that more different types of people were there, and it gave us a real opportunity to think about how we can make things even better for those people. So what was beautiful to see for the very first time was not the very first time, but for a really noticeable the first time in a really noticeable way that we're seeing our audience start to really diversify now, that people are recognizing that Be Inspired is this really safe and inclusive space. and that we are really committed to learning. So even if we don't get it right in the first instance, we're super committed to learning. So I did a whole talk on getting it wrong and me promising to get it wrong so I can get it right. And the audience, made a pledge to me that they were going to tell me when I was getting it wrong so that I could get it right. And the feedback has been phenomenal. I have learned loads. Receiving that feedback is really important to me. If I'm getting it wrong, I want to fucking know I'm getting it wrong so that I can get it right. And like I said, the feedback that we got for the venue from the attendees, from people from different backgrounds, different abilities, all of that sort of stuff, it's really given me some food for thought as what I want to be able to provide next time. So it's really, really great. What you're saying, Kat, the support we get from Danny is amazing. Even like when you decide you're changing everything to do something completely different. Yes, if you're worried you don't have a thing or want to do something different, don't worry, she's got you. I absolutely do. Yeah, I absolutely do. People always come and work with me. I find it fascinating, and I love it at the same time. Is they want to work with me for one reason, but actually the learning that they do is in all different ways that they could never have imagined. So I always find that like the most exciting thing about doing this work. Somebody who has done some of this work for quite a long time with me now is my guest this morning. I don't normally have guests on a Monday morning, but I really wanted to. If I'm feeling what's the word? When I've done something big like this, it's always nice to get a huggle. It's always nice to get a cuddle and a squish from my favourite people. And this guest this morning is one of my favorite people. We've been working with each other now for just 12 months. She's been on my Totally Inclusive program, my 12-month program, which I only open to 2 people every year. So she's done Be Inspired, but also I've been working with her really intensely in a weekly one-to-one capacity as well. And she's coming to tell us about the things that she's getting up to. Please welcome to the show Rise Up Show this morning, Prash Sharma, the Heartbreak Healer. Hello, you.
Hi.
Oh, do you know what? I feel like I'm tumbling into your arms for a big cuddle.
Big cuddles. I love me and Danny cuddles.
So, Prash, you came to Be Inspired, right?
Yes, I did. I had to leave early the second day, which I was really upset about. But I said to myself, I can catch up. Like just after lunch, I left. But I'm going to go back and then watch the recordings.
The recordings, yeah, because everybody who goes gets a recording of the whole thing, so that it's a marathon, isn't it, Prash? It's a long.
Absolutely. I just can't. When I was there, and especially the way it was this time, like you said, the expo was new and the areas were new and there were so many people as well, like what we used to have before. I'm looking and going, oh my God, it's incredible what you pull off. It's just absolutely incredible. And I was like, oh my God, I want to be up on that stage again.
Do you know what? It makes me giggle. Like, it's something that every single one of my previous clients is like, I want to go again. Can we do it all again? Can we go again? And that for me makes me really excited because I know then that we're really hitting the mark. But Prash, enough about me. Let's talk about you. For anybody that doesn't know you, sweetheart, what do you do? Tell us about you.
So I am, like it says on the screen, I am the heartbreak healer, which kind of thing I sometimes feel like it gives a little bit of a like I sit there and then heal people's heart. It's not that. It's just that I work with people themselves who have, most of us, been through broken relationships in one way, shape, or form in lifetime that we had. Not everyone, but most of us did. And it always leaves that lingering pain and doubt, and the doubt about, oh, why me? Why does it always happen to me? And then normally what tends to happen, especially with women, is once you've come out of some sort of a broken relationship, because even though that relationship didn't work, there is some sort of a comfort and familiar feeling in that kind of relationship that when you come out and you look for another one or you find another one, the reason you get attracted to a certain type of person is because they feel familiar.
Yes.
So we need to then, like Danny talks about it all the time, be the cycle breaker, because everything carries on to the next generation. So I help women break that cycle of getting over and over into wrong. Not a relationship might not be wrong, but it's which is not right for them.
Yes, absolutely. And seeing you develop your initial idea through to where you are now, where you're about to release your group program, you're doing one-to-one work now, and seeing the massive impact, and it's huge impact that you make on the people that you work with. For me, it's an absolute joy. Tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming the heartbreak healer, Prash.
So for me, Dan, it's like I think you do what you do, like the Fly Anyway Foundation and everything else, because of the experience that you had to go through, and you want to avoid the other people, as many as you can, take under your wings, not to have to go through the same pain and the same processes again. And it's the same thing with me.
Yeah.
When I went through my own breakup, which was a 10-year marriage, and I actually walked away with my 7-year-old daughter with me, the things that I had to do to heal from that broken relationship, the places that I went to, the deep, dark hole of depression, not knowing what to do, feeling absolutely lonely, not having anyone to turn to, not knowing what was happening with my own daughter because I was so engrossed in, I'm feeling so sad for myself, didn't even realize what it was doing to her. So all of this pain is actually very, very easily avoidable. The pain of heartbreak isn't. It is painful. You go through that
Yeah.
pain. But the unnecessary or the extra pain of being super depressed and going to those places where you feel like you're never going to claw yourself back out of, and all of that is avoidable. And hence, the why I do what I do is to make sure that when especially when it's a significant relationship, which has we've been there for a while now, and when that breakup happens, it can go both ways. The breakup can either break you completely or make you. And going from being broken to being made is a long process, but it can be shortened. And that's what I love doing. And this is where it came from, the fact that I've been through it. It was experiential. So,
And there's this whole concept around relationships where if they end, then you're a failure.
yes.
Like you know, because of the way that our society, particularly in the West, is set up, is that when relationships come to an end, it means that we hold on to them because we feel like if it comes to the end, and sometimes they come to a natural end, that both parties feel like they're a failure. So they hang on longer than they would do or should do. It becomes painful. They sit in resentment. And actually, getting to that understanding where it has this run its natural course, maybe it has, then you're not. It's like that term conscious uncoupling, isn't it? I remember when back in the day, Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris, what's his last name?
Chris Martin, I think.
Chris Martin.
Yeah.
They made this sort of statement, we are consciously uncoupling. And the world laughed a little bit. They kind of, oh God, that's a really new age thing to do. Like, I remember reading it in the tablet. We're consciously uncoupling. Actually, that was really before its time. So really ahead of its time.
Yeah.
In terms of a really grown up and healthy way to come to an end of a relationship. Before you start hating each other, before you start getting hurt, when you're both sat in this resentment, you start being not very kind to each other, and then that really sets in a rot that is really difficult to recover from, not even from a relationship point of view, but from a not being on your own point of view, because you end up carrying that baggage of that resentment with you I talk about the shit suitcase. You've heard me talk about the shit suitcase. That you end up having all this shit that you gather up and you chuck in a bag, and then you end up in a new relationship with this really heavy bag of shit that you're still carrying, and you try and get your new partner to smell your shit. No one wants to smell your shit.
Exactly. It's like so the one Gwyneth and Chris did, I don't remember the name of the lady anymore, but I have her book, and the book is called Unconscious Uncoupling, but it's mainly to do, it's not new age stuff, obviously. Like, it's the most wonderful thing that you can do, but the problem, a little bit of a problem that I find with that is both parties need to be on the same level, same thinking. They both need to do it together, kind of situation. But how many times, right? How many times when the resentment has set in, when every little thing he or she or they do has started to grit on you a little bit more, when everything started to amplify, you're feeling like, ugh, why? If when that bit happens, it's kind of, unless you decide and you're both of that and very rarely that if both in a couple both people are of that high level of consciousness,
Yeah.
does a split ever happen because you
Right.
work through it. The split happens mainly because you realize that you don't want to work through it together anymore, right? So
That's
then
it.
it's all at the end of the day, and I say this over and over again, is a happy relationship begins and ends with a happy self.
Right. And
That's
this
it.
is really where you come in, isn't it? It's, we were playing around with lots of names for what it was that you were going to do, and you were sort of releasing yourself into the world in this
Mhm.
capacity. And we kept coming back to, flying solo. Like, we kept coming back to, how do you be on your own? And if you're loving yourself first, that allows you then to enter into a partnership with strength without this sort of dependency. And the talk that you did at Be Inspired back in April was that. So tell us a bit about the talk that you did.
So I did a talk, obviously with your help. It wouldn't have happened. Anything wouldn't have happened without it anyway. So it was called Whole Not Half, because the entire societal convention is based on the fact, or based on the premise that, oh, if you're not in a relationship, especially obviously after you get to a certain age, right? Like, when you start going to attending people's weddings, oh, when are you getting married?
When are you getting married?
You don't have a boyfriend, or you don't have a girlfriend, what's going on? All of these things start happening, and it's all because there's this myth going around in the society about how somebody else will bring in your happily ever after, where someone else, most probably, especially for girls or women in particular, that, oh, you need a man in your life to complete you, to make you whole, to look after you, to make you feel like a princess, to treat you like a queen. I mean, that whole entire thing is so outdated, is so patriarchal, because it's literally giving the man that, oh, the only way a woman will be absolutely happy and perfect is if I'm in her life, kind. It
Right.
gives them so much power and strips away every power the woman has.
Yeah.
And this is where I think the word, which I absolutely am against, empowering women, comes in. Because when we say women
Tell us
empowerment,
about that. This is spicy. Come on, Prash. I love it when Prash gets
I had
spicy.
this radio show with Jojo, right? A week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you
We were
smashed
going-
it.
And she was like, "Oh my God, Prash, your face is lighting up when you're talking about it." Because I do not like the term empowering women. When was the last time you heard the word empowering men? Men empowering men. So you're trying to tell me men are all powerful, they don't need empowering, but women do. We are more powerful. We're, if not more, we are equally powerful. So you don't need empowering. It's just that you've forgotten how powerful you are.
Right.
You need reminding of that power.
I like that.
So
I
that's
love
what
that.
this is why, for me, I know it. Whenever people say it, there's nobody says it from that malicious part of, "Ooh, I need to empower you. I need to make sure I give you my power over." I know nobody means that way.
Yeah,
Empowering word is a powerful word, but for me, I always
It's
look at
disempowering in and of itself by making
Yeah.
that the focal point. It's this
Yes,
remembrance. It's this stepping back in, isn't it?
Yeah. For me, it reminds me kind of women empowering women, or I empower women, reminds me kind of that power that was taken away from women. And that's not what I want to remind them of. I want to remind them that they're all powerful, and just to show them, just enlighten them a little bit about how powerful they actually are.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you understand that about yourself, then that's an incredible strength to be in when you're in a partnership, because then you don't have this dependency on somebody else filling the hole for you. You can become this lovely balance of complementary attributes within a relationship, instead of you saying, "Oh, I've got this hole in me, you need to fill it up," or likewise, for the other person in the relationship, then that person becomes a crutch for you. Whereas actually, if you are intent on making yourself happy, and that person is intent on making themselves happy, and those two people are complementary to each other, that's where really fulfilling relationships start to brew and grow, right?
Exactly that. It's like when two people come together in a relationship, we shouldn't be coming thinking, oh, the other person's going to make me whole, or oh, I'm unhappy, they will bring happiness into my life. It should be, I am okay with or without you, I am happy, I'm fulfilled, I'm whole, and I'll come together with you. And when I do, we actually complement each other, we amplify our happiness, we become even more happier. We bring up, if we want to, and we have kids, we bring up kids who are more healthier and more balanced and everything. Why? Because you're so content and fulfilled with who you are, that the other person, all of a sudden, and if they are the same, or at least in some level, then what then tends to happen is there's more understanding, there's more. Most of the misunderstandings in a relationship, let's say for example, if somebody says something to you and it really hurts, is because there's that misconception you hold within you, thinking, oh, what they're saying is kind of true.
Yeah.
So when those misconceptions, and those only come from our insecurities, but if you are so secure in yourself,
that it becomes kind of moot, doesn't it? You're there and you're there in your own strength. And this whole concept for you as well, Prash, isn't just centered in intimate partner relationships, is it? It's familial relationships, friendship relationships, because you can get situations whereby you can have your heart broken by a friend. I know I have in the past.
yeah. So I had, I wouldn't take any names, obviously, but I've had people who have actually kind of found the power inside of them, escaped a narcissistic relationship, an abusive relationship, only to get into a friendship where the friend was a narcissist. And without knowing, because you think they're a friend and there's no intimacy involved, there's not that physical bit is not there. Still, you give all. How many of us love our friends too?
Right.
Like, more
viciously,
than our partners, right? We love
sometimes them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So when that happens, then that's what I call I've forgotten, sometimes I forget like my words. It's a repeating cycle, basically. So what you're doing is you're moving from one, let's say an intimate partner who was a narcissist, to move into a friend, even though that relationship has changed and if the person's changed. And it's still, if it's a narcissist, then that's called a repeating pattern. And that happens because you haven't worked on you yet.
Yeah.
Nobody is bringing your healing to you. Nobody is going to heal you. Nobody is going to change you. Nobody is going to give you the confidence that you're looking for until and unless you give it to yourself.
Right. And then that goes back to going to what you know as opposed to going to what is safe. Like your brain thinks it's safe because you survive. You've got 100% survival rate so far for every relationship you've got. You're still alive, for those of us that are still alive. And so when we explore other friendships or other intimate partner relationships, and we find ourselves repeating those cycles, like you said right at the beginning of our chat, it's because you know that behavior, so it feels familiar, and familiarity breeds a sense of safety. So the work that you do is helping people understand that, right? Understand that within themselves.
It's not just understand that, it's also letting go fully and healing yourself. It's not about forgiving the other person. That's also one of the other things where I tend to go against the normal or the conformity that's being formed around us about, oh, forgiveness is good. Holding on to anger is drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. All these things, because if you're not ready to forgive someone, it does more damage than it does good when you try to force it.
When you try and push it, right? So I'm just trying to get to some of the comments that we've got here on Facebook, but I can't, for some reason it's not throwing it up. But we've got this one. I'm not sure who this is. It says Facebook user. A close friend ghosted me last night. All social number blocked. When I haven't done anything wrong, just cut throat. She's known for it, and I'm surrounded by people and still feel incredibly anxious and lonely. One of my missions is to combat loneliness, whatever that means to people. But we should talk more about losing friends, family members that are just life. And there's no shame, I don't think, for holding those boundaries and saying, actually, this relationship isn't serving me. Maybe not going as far as to cut someone off and not tell them about it. I think that's a bit mean.
So ghosting is also another form of like a little bit of a narcissistic behavior, because when somebody ghosts you completely, it's literally, there is no healthy boundary there. If I were to have an argument with you, Danny, or something you said that hurt me, the healthier way for me to is come to you, is have a adult conversation and say, this is what you did, this is what you did, this is how you hurt me. And an adult thing for you to do will be, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't
Let's
realize.
solution seek together.
Let's find a solution. Or, okay, this is me, take it or leave it. And then you part ways. So
make a decision.
Ghosting for me is the other person is so insecure, but they feel powerful when they cut all ties and they're like, yeah, that's it, I've done it now. Doesn't matter. When you are an adult, when you worked on yourself, and when you are in a healthy and balanced relationship with yourself, you never ghost anyone, because you don't feel the need to show the power that way. That's a power game. That's a power game.
Absolutely. And it's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, it's also the other thing about like the shame and the guilt that we talk about, like every time when a relationship breaks down, or even if it's within a friendship circle, things like my daughter just literally went through something like that, where the friendship circle split up because they weren't working together, they were just being nasty towards each other, some of them, things like that. So when that happens, then there's this guilt of, was it me? Did I do something? Or the shame of, oh, I have no friends anymore, or what are people thinking about me?
And there's no answers there. So there's the power play, is that that person then is feeling vulnerable and exposed with no information to make them feel safe, and they can't ask that person. And that, that happens at the end of quite a few relationships I've seen, where, that person either isn't emotionally open enough to be able to have a conversation. They've just put the shutters down and gone, no, that's it, I'm out. But this, going back to this sort of understanding ourselves and allowing ourselves to enter into relationships with healthy boundaries and what have you, open communication at the beginning, understanding that love should still feel like love, even if you're giving honest feedback. I think that was really important. One of our speakers talked about, I think it was Ijay McDougall, talked about, when we say, I'm not being funny, but, or I need to tell you this with love. And some people say that to dress up brutal honesty, or I'm only being honest, and actually they're just dressing, by saying I'm just an honest person, they're dressing up unkindness. Was actually
very, very, very fine line between being honest because you love someone and you need them to understand something that they might not see it, to dressing it up as, oh yeah, you know what, this is tough love, take it or leave it. And that's bordering on, and sometimes, like sometimes when people turn around and say, oh, but I've got no filter, I have
Oh, yes, you're giving yourself no excuse at all. You're giving that's what you're doing. You're giving yourself complete permission to say what you want, regardless of how it makes anybody else feel. Under the guise of, oh, I'll just say I've got no filter.
So it's not, that is also a form of insecurity. That is also a form of power play. And power play, look, I know it sounds very counterintuitive, but the power play only comes in when the person who's doing the power play is so insecure that they need to show to the world that they're powerful. When you are powerful, when you are happy, content, when you're all okay with yourself, I don't need to show anybody I'm powerful.
Right? I love this. And this is I was talking about this in one of my talks. So don't tell me you're funny, make me laugh. So instead of going around and like outwardly displaying power, you just are by being. So you don't need to, in the game of chess, you don't need to make any power plays. You know what they are, and you can play them when it's necessary and not when it's unnecessary. And this is when we're talking about sort of being honest or being straight talking or linear. We're not talking about anybody that's neurodivergent here, who has who just kind of says things because of their processing and because of their social sort of abilities or understandings or what have you. We're talking about people who do this like with intention, and there are lots.
So like, and also like I am neurodivergent as well. I've got undiagnosed ADHD and I'm full on OCD. But when you notice, you will always see the difference when there's somebody who has that kind of brain capacity where the words come out quicker than the mind is processing, because these things happen. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
see there's no malice there.
There's no malice.
They don't hurt you by saying what they're saying. But
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other person who's actually saying that, oh yeah, you know what, I have no filter, or I say what I want to say, I don't care, all of these, you can feel the pain when
That's
they
them
say
telling
something
you
to
they're
you.
powerful, right? By
Yeah,
saying that is they're
yeah.
expressly giving themselves permission to do.
Permission,
It's
yeah.
absolutely fascinating. What are we saying out there? That's sometimes the issue, isn't it? Like you said, if both people aren't on the same conscious level, they quite often can't have adult conversations. It becomes like a child parent kind of situation, yes, and
Yes.
results in argument and resentment. And that is what Prash helps with. If you've been on the receiving end of this, or you find yourself in these cyclical patterns, and you find that, and this has an impact in every single aspect of our life. It has an impact on our parenting, an impact on our marriages if we're wed, in our intimate partner relationships, in as we move through different relationships, whether they're friendships or familial relationships. All of these things are the things that Prash helps with. If this has resonated with anybody out there this morning, Prash, how do we get in touch with you? Because I know you've got some one-to-one spaces that are open at the minute, and you've also got a program that's coming out really soon.
Yeah, so I only have 2 one-to-one space. I don't do.
You
It takes a
focus.
lot. And then the work that I do with, when you speak to my clients, you'll know that it's a very emotional game, because
Yeah.
relationships and the pain and the hurt and everything else that we've gathered from the relationship, even if it's anger or resentment, is purging is a really emotional process. So my
Yes.
clients need to me 100% to be with them at times
Right.
like that, because I can't be distracted with like 10 different people sort of
Yeah,
situation.
this is heart work we're doing here. This is like,
Yeah,
emotional work. This is healing work.
yeah,
It's not an easy process. It's interesting. Eli was engaging with some counselling at school, and he went to his first session and came back, and he was like, nothing is fixed. And I'm like, no, that's not how these things work. Therapy and the
yeah.
healing and the work is a process, and you're dead right. And I know you absolutely pour your heart and your soul into
Yeah,
helping your clients heal.
yeah.
So how do we get in touch with you? How do we find out more about working with
Everybody,
you, darling?
the one thing that I made, which I was lucky enough to be able to, was make all my socials the same, which is at the Heartbreak Healer One. So wherever socials you go on, apart from Twitter, which I need to open up, everywhere else you'll find me on at the Heartbreak Healer One. And it's not, I don't have a social media manager. I am me. I do
Yeah.
everything myself. So if you message and I reply back, it's me. I will
Yeah.
reply back to you. Or my website is theheartbreakhealer.co.uk. There are some free resources there. I also have the program I run with my clients, whether if it's as a group program or one-on-one basis, is a little bit more intimate. You get more of me, but I know not some people are time strapped and things like that. So there is a digital version of that program in the website as well. So you can always, like, I love connecting.
Yeah.
Give me a shout and I will
Everybody
always.
needs a bit of Prash in their lives. Can I just say this? Everybody needs a little bit of Prash in their lives.
Yeah.
Emily's asking, are you on LinkedIn? Emily Jones.
Yes, at the
Yes, she is.
Heartbreak One. Yeah.
So across the socials at the Heartbreak Healer One. Prash, thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning. It is lovely that, especially in the sort of the aftermath of Be Inspired, to see you doing so well. I'm excited for all the things that you're going to be launching. You're launching your brand. You're launching all of the exciting things.
And the book is coming out. So I'm co-authoring a book. It's coming out in 18th of October, called Rebel with a Cause, because we're all rebels, right? Why not?
You are. Amazing. Well, good luck for the book. Good luck for the brand launch. Good luck for all the things that you're bringing out into the world. It is an absolute pleasure having you in mine. Prash Sharma, the Heartbreak Healer, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. That was Prash Sharma, the Heartbreak Healer. Forgive the tattiness of my studio this morning. We are still in the aftermath of Be Inspired, which was off the chain hook. It was properly dead good. If you want to get involved with the next cohort of Be Inspired, please do get in my DMs. The doors will close in 3 weeks' time. So next week we have the free bootcamp, Be Heard Bootcamp, where I'll be sharing with you some tips and some tricks to get speaking about your business. We will have our premiere of the brand new Be Inspired video in the next couple of weeks, and we will throw the doors open to the Be Heard and Be Heard Pro program as well. So if you do want to work with me, this month is the month to get in and on it. Please do go to imthequeenbee.co.uk for all information about the packages. If you want to talk to me about being on the next lineup for Be Inspired, for working with me for the next 6 months to get you ready for being a speaker in some way, shape, or any way, shape, or form, from whether you are already an experienced speaker and you want to tighten up the nuts and bolts, or you are brand new and are wanting to get speaking about your mission, your business, or you're wanting help on your messaging and beyond, get into my DMs. I got you. All right. I love you. Go and check us out over on Instagram at the Queen Bee Danny if you don't follow me already. More content, hints and tips and tricks coming out over there, and more behind the scenes stuff. And I will see you for more showing up, wising up and rising up on Wednesday at 9:30. I'll see you soon. Take care.